Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and the Incredible Hulk issue number 30. This is the final issue in this particular run. There will not be an Incredible Hulk issue number 31. The legacy number will be the same, but the title will be The Infernal Hulk issue number 1. How did we get there? Unfortunately, there are going to have to be some spoilers for this because this took a bit of thinking to get there. You have to read every single thing 64 times to really get it doesn't have to be that bad, but holy moly, whatever a moly is, it's one of the holy ones. It took a lot to sit there and understand exactly what it is that Philip Kennedy Johnson, PKJ, here on in, was trying to convey. Why? Because when we're talking about the cosmic realms, guys, if you think characters like Hawkman have an interesting background that's very hard to explain, just try getting into any cosmic concept deity. Concept, meaning long beyond what we can actually understand, we can simply have a hint of what this thing actually is. And we're dealing with several now. The mother of all horrors, turns out, is dead. Imagine Tanichi's surprise. After all his time trying to kill God, he realizes that he succeeded. Well, he at least thinks he did. Anyway, to come to his conclusion, God is dead, and to say it in lament. To say, oh no. If I succeeded in what I'm doing, well, then what's to happen to the universal order from here on in? If we were to read Camus and try and understand what exactly did he mean? What I think, therefore I am, Descartes. So where does that leave me now? If I am in fact a human being, since I think, well, now what? Let's get to about who made this comic book. We'll get into the rest as, blah. So, the Requiem Plane, Part 3. The Requiem Plane is the area that they're in. This land that, previous issue and this one. The land that they're actually in. Oh, amazing. Phil Kennedy Johnson, excuse me, PKJ is the writer. Nick Klein, baby, he's doing the art. Matthew Wilson on colors. VC's Corey Petit on letters. And Klein also doing the cover. Many variant covers in here, including a Muppets cover, which is totally awesome. Waka Waka, baby. And a Tron Ares? Man, get out of here with that. Freaking imitation Michael Morbius. Move on with that. So, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the Hulk. And every idea that has come afterwards based off of that. But also maybe Stevenson because of, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a little bit of DC because of Solomon Grundy, and maybe a little bit of, Mary Shelley. Not necessarily her husband, but yeah, actually kind of her husband, right? With the modern day Prometheus and Frankenstein. My peeps, there's a lot here. In such a very simple comic book. But this is what happens when you have an incredible buildup and then you just bring it all together. You just let the pieces fall into their proper places at the end. I have a feeling this issue is the only issue Kennedy had an easy time doing because all that work that he did in the previous 29 issues, that was the work. This was just letting the Hulk tell the rest of that story. I think about demonic possession sometimes. I think about, like I read the Bible, not nearly as much as I should, but if I read every day, it wouldn't be as much as I should, I imagine, right? I'm a particularly religious kind of guy, is what it is. And I may have read a thing or two in my days. But when you think about demonic possession, the idea that this vessel, right, And I mean, in many ways, this is kind of going back to Augustus. More importantly, this is really going back to Aquinas, right? Thomas Aquinos, however you want to pronounce his name. The idea that a human being is a combination of this vessel and the soul. The soul without the body is not a human being. It's a soul. The body without the soul is not a human being. It's a body. The two are what matter, right? The soul doesn't have eyes or ears. How can it process? How can it see? How can it hear, right? It can only process. No, it's the body that has the eyes, the ears, all the senses, all of them, not just the five basic Aristotelian senses. No, we have far more senses than just that, right? And I'm not talking about ESP. I'm talking about like hunger pangs, and like we we have more ways to detect the world around us than just the five that are commonly talked about. But the soul can only process what comes through. So therefore, if our vision is blurry, well, then the soul is only going to be able to process what the rest of us know as blurry vision, right? It's a blurred world. If you have hearing damage, well, then you're going to process things a little bit different than everybody else will. I don't mean to wax too poetic or to get too philosophical in here, but I'm reminded of what I had to talk about in the previous issue. The idea of the cosmic world that, for the most part, Roy Thomas really codified, right? He created and then codified, but kind of codified at first. But anyway, all that had been done before, right? The who were the main creators of the cosmic universe, right? In Marvel, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, right? And Jim Starlin. But who put most of this together and his own stamp on it was Roy Thomas. And the previous issue shows that, PKJ went through Marvel Seminary. He understands this stuff. When the one above all, who is the creator of whatever comic book you're writing, in this particular case, the one above all is PKJ, right? So imagine now the writer or the artist, because it can be either. Imagine, if you will, the creator is corrupted and becomes the one, and that corruption, much like in the Zarathustrian mythos of Zoroastrian religion. There are still people who practice that today, believe it or not. And more people are associating with it, mostly in Iran, for obvious reasons. That's where it started, right? This monotheistic religion, but has two beings in the cosmos, but the other being is just the shadow. Carl Jung here, right? The shadow of God, the corrupted shadow of God, which is constantly trying to tempt. Can it actually tempt the one above all, like we see in Zoroastrianism? Ask PKJ. Wonder if he's possessed. What we see here is that the battle has gone on for too long. The toll was too much. Was it necessary to chain up the mother of all horrors, as we saw in here? Was it necessary? Was it more than this? Eldest is here, right? The eldest child. I think it's just called eldest. He comes and he's able to accomplish his mission. Oh God, and the way he does it, I don't know how many of you are inundated with the greatest Hulk series ever, the one which eventually led to the Gray Hulk, Peter Jackson, a particularly recently departed, rest in peace, one above all. but one who took this incredible story and just turned it on its head. It's funny that when Banner is separated from Hulk, we suddenly see a gray Hulk. um, Hulk and Banner are separated. Banner is actually torn out from Hulk in this, and they talk to each other. Look, I understand it was under the scrutiny of one who hated them both, eldest. But imagine if all of the things you hate and resent in yourself that you wish you could just exegete and just get rid of it. Just bifurcate the good from the bad. And as you're throwing it away, you look at it and you realize that's all the hurt and the pain that was done to you. And as you're casting it out, as you're exorcising that demon, you suddenly realize why you are. And that's the exchange in these small words they had with each other, Hulk and Banner. Oh, man. I forgot when comics used to do something like this. When comics made me feel. I saw a recent thing. I talked about it in my Justice League Red issue number 3 review. I said, I'm hearing that DC is slapping and they're doing it way better than Marvel is. And I wonder, like, I know I'm not reading everything that's over there, but has over there read this? The idea that when this evil being, and what's evil? The ultimate evil in the Marvel Universe, arguably, is the Red Skull. Evil is his superpower. But when you have an evil like the mother of all horrors, I mean, she took that name. Nobody gave it to her. When she has a child, she had 2 children actually, right? Um, Dantu, I forget his name, but he was supposed to rival the one above all. Failed miserably, but he tried. A for effort, maybe a U for effort. But eldest was the one who was going to actually put it all together and release his mother. But it took too long, and now she's dead. And he decides to consume not all of her, but some of her. I wonder if it matters that's very specifically her eye. Maybe it matters that it's her left eye instead of the right. I'm afraid, nervous to try and predict what PKJ is going to do next. But the Infernal Hulk is not the Hulk. Gamma is its own religion in this book. Not just this book, in the Hulk universe, as we've been seeing lately. Does anybody remember Scryer in the Spider-Man comic books? Not the Silver Surfer version, right? Does anybody remember Scryer? The religion that was set up around it? We could see that. I love that Banner is considered Enkidu. If you read the part that comes after the comic book, Enkidu being the very interesting, right? In Babylonian, Sumerian, Mesopotamian mythology, Gilgamesh was this giant, half god, half human, so a giant, arguably like what many people confuse the Nephilim for. If you read the um, the non-canonical books of Enoch, right? Actually, they're just supposed to be the children of Cain, the Canaanites, right? Yeah, the children of God and the daughters of men. Um, it's interesting here. The very unlike the idea of Zarathustra, who is good, but his shadow is evil. In the Sumerian mythology, you have the idea that Gilgamesh himself was essentially evil, but what was done to make him see his his shadow was made, but actually Gilgamesh was the shadow, right? Was he? Because Enkidu was good and caused the shadow to, like, now that I have an equal and we can't necessarily beat each other. Okay, technically Gilgamesh won, but now we have something else. We have a friendship. And now even after he's gone and he mourns and he wants to bring his friend back, right? It's a whole different story. Read the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? But the idea that Banner is compared to Enkidu. He was the good in the Hulk. Questions about can the other heroes provide a suitable vessel for me? The soldier, Captain America, really? We're going there? The spider, seriously? The Iron Man, oh, that's going to be rough because that guy is not good. He's not good. And then the X-Men, oh my God, you literally are going from like perfection to effed up. Like, really, what are we doing here? Ah, this book has so much in it because you can see where he was going. My peeps, listen, I'm going to try and leave it with this. If you're young, especially, even if you're older, I think we were given a better education than the younger. I think education has gotten worse as time goes on. I feel like my dad was given a better education than me, and all of us were just in public school. You know, I feel like my father was given a better education than I was, but I'm still very proud of my education, especially when talking to younger people today. My wife acknowledges my education was better than hers. She's a millennial. I'm Gen X, and we can both see what's happening in the school systems today. Countermine that by the simple fact of reading. Listen to an audiobook, okay? And what I mean is the classics. Look up the classics. Look up the Invisible Men books, right? Two different authors. Listen to The Republic by Plato. Listen to any of those old classics. Just look up classic audiobook full, something like that, right? Find something and just listen to it. Understand where all these characters came from, which is going to be all of the stories that you are reading today, where that inspiration came from. You want to be a great writer? You want to better appreciate the stories that you are seeing? It doesn't take much. Just, it just takes some time. Time out of your day while you're doing something else and listen to these incredible stories. If you're younger, read them instead because life is far greater in terms of reading than 144 characters or 288, whatever they're at now for some of these social media post character limits. There's so much out there. This is not me saying I'm better than you. I'm not. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. Not by any means. But I will say I feel like I'm more read than a lot of people. Not everybody, obviously, but just guys, read the classics. Read the classics. It will culture you more than you could possibly imagine, and you'll get more out of comic books like these than anything else out there, anything else you can think that you would think you could count on. I'm going to leave you with that. Read this comic book and then go read something else, right? And just never stop. Never get tired of it. Read Dante's Inferno. Read the other two parts of the Divine Comedy, right? I get it. Virgil's Aeneid is a really rough read. I was never even able to get through the darn thing. I admit to skipping to the end because it was a totally awesome end. But yeah, there's a lot there. But just read. Just for the love of God, read something good, right? Read Inferno so you understand why I suddenly thought of the Aeneid. you'll you'll get it, right? Are you Virgil? Guys, I love you all. And books like this, man, holy crap, they it brings me back to when comic books mattered. Welcome to our modern mythology. Talk to you guys later. Like the video, buy this book, and watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book